Hello and welcome to today's YouTube tutorial from Peakboard. In today's video I want to show you how you can create such a digital checklist for your workers in your production to collect and analyze the times they need for the single tasks. How this works, I'll show you now. I'm now here on the Peakboard Designer where we will start by add three variables. The first one is for identifying the order later, so the current order we are working on. Let's call this order. Another variable for the last timestamp, so the last action which was checked so that someone finished one of his tasks. And one more variable I call worker, which will identify a worker. For this we use our RFID reader. The RFID value which is in there we later will use to identify the worker currently working with the dashboard. Let's click on OK, and now we've created all the necessary variables. The next step is now to add the Peakboard Hub lists where we can find all the different tasks we need to do. So let's call this one tasks. Click on load lists and select the tasks list. Here I can just continue by click on load data, and then I will get all the tasks with its ID, the name and the description. We can also have a quick look here into the Peakboard Hub, and here you can just see the corresponding Peakboard Hub list. Then let's click here on OK, and so we've created the data source on the left side, and we need to get one more list from the Peakboard Hub. We call this one timestamps. Here later all the tasks we check will be in there. So let's select the timestamps variable list here, and we add one condition on the button where we define that we just want to have the order from the current selected order variable we will later set. Let's click here on load data, and we see there is nothing because the order value is not set right now, but here we have a column for the ID, for the current order identifier, the corresponding task, start time, end time, and the worker currently working on that task. Let's click here on OK. Now we want to go further with the task hub list. For this we click here on process data with a Peakboard data flow, and here we can create logic to just show the steps which are not already done for that order. So let's call this one tasks open. So here we just want to have the open tasks later. I click on join so I can combine these both Peakboard Hub lists here. For that I just set the task ID to the ID of the tasks list, and like this I can connect this to data sources, and we just want to have the ones which are not already done. So if the end time is empty then we want to use it, and if not then we want to remove this entry. So click here with the right mouse button, and there I say include only rows with this value. In this case these are all of them, but if we would have a value in that column then we would remove the corresponding rows. So let's click here on OK and add one more data source. It's just a time data source to get the current time out there. So I call this one just my time, and click here on OK. Alright, so the next thing I want to do here is to create such a global event, and I select here text input. So every time when a text is inputted there, we want to trigger this event. In case of a RFID reader like a barcode reader or something, it's just acting as a regular keyboard, entering a text and then clicking on return button. That's what a RFID reader usually does. So let's just use it like that. Here the first thing I want to do is to set the variable of the current worker to the value of the RFID chip. So for that I set the variable worker to the text triggering this event. Then I set the variable order to a unique ID so we can identify later which order we are currently working with. So for that I add here text merge and I click here on get date as text from our created text data source, and I define the format here to year, month, day, hour, minute, second. And also I add another text here, which is the name of our current production line, just to make it definitely unique. Now I set another variable. I set the last timestamp to the same value as here. So this one we later need to get the start time of the current task we are working. Then let's add at least a reload for the Peakboard Hub list tasks, which will then trigger also the data flow, and this one allows us to use this filter we defined before with the order we are setting here. So let's click here on save and close, and now let's drag and drop the tasks open as a styled list to the canvas. And here I firstly increase the size, make it scrollable, and double click. And now I can define here how one row of this list should look like. So for that, the first thing I need to do is add a rectangle here, put it to the full size and make the background transparent as first. Then the next thing is to add one text here for the task name. And one other for the task description. This one we set also to small and increase the size here. Alright, and now I add here a button from the top and place it on the right side. I remove here the text and select the icon. In the icon dialog I search for check and I select this one. And now I make a double click on the button to set up a script here. When clicking on this button, we want to add a new row to the Peakboard Hub. So I go here to publish to external systems and add row at the end. And I want to add one row for the timestamps. And for the end time, I get the date out of the time data source, again with this time format, we've set it before. And I take the order from our order variable. The start time I take from the last timestamp, because we every time write into the last timestamp variable when the last action was done. For the task ID, I just select the ID of the current list we are in, because that's just the ID of the task. And for the worker, I again take the value out of one of our variables. In that case, it's the worker. We've set it with this RFID chip before. Then I also set the last timestamp again to this timestamp we have here, because if we finish one task, we directly want to continue with the next one. So the start end time of the one is the start time of the next. And then I do a reload of our timestamps here to directly get the new values out there. So we remove then with this data flow the current task we've pressed the button for. Let's click here on Save and Close and here on OK. And now we are basically done. The last thing I want to do is to hide this list by default and show it when someone is using his RFID chip. So for that, I go here to Screen and I set the visibility for this list to true when a text is inputted there with the RFID chip. Let's click here on Save and Close. And now we can click on the preview button on the top. And now when I start here with this RFID scan, I get the list here, can press on the buttons, which removes the single entries and adds the values to the Peakboard Hub. Let's have a look there. And in the timestamp, you can just see the 3 checks I currently did. That's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.